Did you know that over 271,000 people in the UK are already homeless? And that number could explode in 2025. What if I told you that you could lose your home next year, not because you stopped paying rent or broke the law, but because of new, quiet laws slipping through Parliament right now? Most people don't see them coming until it's too late. Hidden inside government documents and legal reforms are rules that could skyrocket your rent, strip away your tenant rights, or even allow your landlord to kick you out overnight, legally. And the scariest part? They're already approved or about to go live in 2025. In this video, we'll uncover 10 new UK laws that could put you or someone you love at risk of losing their home. Don't blink. Missing just one could cost you everything. Number 1. Stricter council tax penalties for empty rooms. Starting in 2025, several UK councils are rolling out tougher penalties for households with empty bedrooms, especially in areas with housing shortages. What used to be a quiet detail in your council tax bill could now cost you hundreds more per year, simply for not using all the rooms in your home. This policy is based on updated local taxation powers tied to the under-occupancy rule, also known as the bedroom tax, but it's about to get more aggressive. Councils claim this move encourages better use of housing, but in practice, it's hitting pensioners, single parents, and low-income households the hardest. Imagine this. Your adult child moves out, and suddenly that spare room means you're being penalized. Or worse, you're forced to downsize, losing the home you've lived in for decades. And it's not just social housing. Some councils are now applying similar logic to private renters and even homeowners, adjusting council tax banding based on occupancy patterns. What can you do? If you're affected, apply for a discretionary housing payment through your local council. Check if your local authority has exemptions for carers, students, or disabled residents. Keep documentation showing legitimate use of the room, even occasionally. This could help during an appeal. This might seem like a small policy shift, but it's the first domino in a series of changes designed to squeeze every inch of value from your home, even if it leaves you struggling. And we're just getting started. Number 2 is about a law that could make your rental home illegal overnight. Let's break it down. Number 2. EPC rating threshold raised. In 2025, the UK government is enforcing stricter energy performance regulations, and it could spell disaster for millions of renters and landlords. Under the new law, all rental properties must meet a minimum EPC rating of C to be legally rented out. Right now, the minimum standard is E, but that's changing fast. Properties that don't make the cut may be declared unfit to rent, forcing landlords to either pay thousands in upgrades or evict tenants. And here's the twist. More than 2.4 million UK homes currently fall below the C rating. That means millions of tenants could find themselves legally kicked out, even if they've done nothing wrong. For landlords, the upgrades can cost between £5,000 to £15,000 per property. Many small-scale landlords may simply choose to sell or evict rather than pay up. So what does this mean for you? If you're renting, check your home's EPC rating right now. It's publicly available online. Ask your landlord what their upgrade plan is. If they don't have one, that's a red flag. If you're a landlord, look into available grants and green home funding to help with insulation, double glazing, and energy-efficient systems. This law is being pushed as part of the UK's climate goals, but it comes with a harsh reality. Families could find themselves homeless just because their home isn't green enough. Do you think this law goes too far, or is it a necessary step for the planet? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters. And if you want to stay ahead of every hidden law that could impact your home, hit subscribe now. We're just getting into the most shocking ones. Number 3. Leasehold reform loophole closure. Picture this. You've worked for years, maybe decades, to finally own a piece of property, a flat in a quiet block, a starter home for your family. But what if I told you that despite holding the keys and paying the mortgage, you don't actually own your home in the way you think? That's the harsh reality for millions of leasehold property owners across the UK. And in 2025, changes to leasehold laws meant to protect you could actually leave you worse off if you're not paying close attention. The government is closing certain legal loopholes to curb exploitative lease agreements. But here's the twist. New valuation methods for ground rent and lease extensions could unexpectedly raise the cost of your lease. In some cases, these costs could double or triple, leaving homeowners unable to afford renewals, or worse, at risk of forfeiting their lease entirely. And it's happening quietly. You won't get a letter saying your home is under threat. Instead, you'll see it in paperwork, in legal language, in a sudden bill you didn't expect, arriving just before your lease hits the 80-year mark. A critical turning point where fees spike. Those who don't act fast or who aren't financially prepared may find themselves trapped in a property they can't sell, can't afford to renew, and eventually may be forced to give up. This law isn't about losing your rental, it's about losing the very foundation of your financial future. The scary part, many leaseholders don't even know they're vulnerable. And if this is you, or someone you know, you'll want to hear what's coming next. Number 4. Benefit cap review and housing allowance cuts. For many families in the UK, housing benefits are the only thing keeping a roof over their heads. But in 2025, that safety net is being quietly pulled back. And the effects could be devastating. The government is set to review and potentially tighten the benefit cap, which limits the total amount of welfare support a household can receive. At the same time, local housing allowance (LHA) rates, which determine how much help people get with rent, are being re-evaluated and possibly reduced in many areas. What does that mean in real life? It means a single mum in London may no longer receive enough to cover her rising rent. It means pensioners on fixed incomes could suddenly face shortfalls they simply can't fill. And it means people on universal credit may be forced to choose between heating their homes or keeping them at all. These aren't distant hypotheticals. This is about real households who've done everything right, followed the rules, paid their dues, now facing eviction notices because the government quietly shifted the goalposts. And it's not just cities. Even small towns with rising rents are being affected, as LHA rates haven't kept up with market changes. Some charities are already warning of a tidal wave of hidden homelessness in 2025, where families aren't on the streets, but are sofa surfing, living in temporary hostels, or split up due to the cost of keeping a home. If you or someone you care about relies on housing support, even a little, this isn't just a policy change. It's a lifeline that might be fraying. Number 5. Renters Reform Bill activation. On the surface, it sounds like great news. Section 21, no-fault evictions are finally being abolished in 2025 under the Renters Reform Bill. For years, landlords could legally evict tenants with just 2 months' notice. No explanation needed. Thousands of families were uprooted with no wrongdoing. So naturally, this change was celebrated. But the reality? It's not that simple. While Section 21 is being scrapped, new grounds for eviction under Section 8 are being quietly expanded. Landlords can now evict if they claim they want to sell the property, move in themselves, or cite persistent rent arrears, even if you've only missed a couple of payments in a tough month. Worse still, tenants now have less protection against sudden eviction during disputes, especially with the court system already overwhelmed and slow to process challenges. And while a new mandatory registration for landlords and property portals is being introduced, enforcement is still patchy. Many rogue landlords are likely to find workarounds, especially in areas with housing shortages where demand gives them all the power. So here's the harsh truth. You might think you're safer now that no-fault evictions are gone, but in reality, you just have different traps to worry about. If you're renting in 2025, you need to know your rights, understand the new Section 8 rules, and track any notice you receive like it's a legal time bomb. Because it just might be. Number 6. New licensing requirements for landlords. In 2025, renting isn't just about paying your rent on time. It's about whether your landlord is even legally allowed to rent to you. A sweeping expansion of landlord licensing laws is being rolled out across various UK regions. Local councils are gaining greater authority to enforce licensing schemes, especially in areas with high-density housing or rising complaints. This means every private landlord, yes, even ones with just a single property, must meet stricter standards and register officially, or face serious penalties. What's the problem? Many landlords don't even know these new rules apply to them. Some are ignoring the process altogether. But here's where it affects you. If your landlord isn't licensed, your tenancy might be technically illegal, and you may be evicted with short notice if authorities catch wind of it. Even worse, tenants in unlicensed properties may not be protected under standard eviction laws or housing complaint processes. And let's not forget the financial side. Some councils are charging £500 to over £1,000 per licence, pushing smaller landlords to either sell off their properties or raise rents sharply just to keep up. The intention behind these rules is to crack down on slum landlords and improve safety standards. But for good tenants in decent homes, it's becoming a dangerous game of chance. If your landlord isn't up to date, you might be the one who pays the price. Tip: if you're unsure, check your local council's landlord register or request your landlord's license number. You're not being rude, you're protecting your right to stay housed. Number 7. Criminalization of unregistered short-term lettings. Renting out your spare room or flat on Airbnb used to feel like an easy side hustle. But in 2025, that freedom is being replaced with fines and even criminal charges. New national and local rules are tightening fast. If you're letting out a property on a short-term basis, even just for a few weekends a year, you may now be legally required to register your listing, obtain a planning permit, and adhere to strict safety and occupancy standards. Failing to do so, that could get you fined up to £30,000, or even prosecuted depending on the council. This isn't theoretical. London already has a 90-day annual limit for short lets, and cities like Edinburgh and Manchester are rolling out registration schemes that include site inspections, guest caps, and licensing fees. The rest of the UK is following quickly. What's especially dangerous is how many casual hosts don't realise they're breaking the law. A weekend rental to cover your mortgage might now violate planning laws. Even renting out a room in your own home could trigger registration requirements, especially if you advertise it online. If you're a tenant subletting a room on Airbnb without written permission, that's a potential breach of your tenancy agreement, and yes, you can be evicted. In short, what used to be extra income could now be a legal minefield. And for property owners relying on Airbnb income to stay afloat during high mortgage rates, this law could be a tipping point, turning a profitable flat into a legal liability. Number 8. Build-to-rent incentives reduce social housing stock. There's a silent shift happening in cities and towns across the UK, and most people don't even realise it's happening until they try to find an affordable place to live. It's called build-to-rent, and in 2025, it's being heavily incentivised by the government. On the surface, it sounds like progress: sleek, modern apartment buildings with professional management, concierge services, and Instagram-worthy interiors. But here's the catch: these properties are being built instead of traditional social housing. Developers are now being encouraged through tax breaks and planning fast-tracks to focus on high-end rentals, which generate more profit than council homes or affordable housing units. In many areas, what used to be reserved for social developments is now being approved for private rental towers. And this isn't just affecting future tenants. It's shrinking the overall pool of low-cost housing, pushing wait lists for council homes even longer, and forcing thousands into temporary accommodation. In essence, a rental market, with families, key workers, and vulnerable individuals priced out of their own communities. Even the term affordable housing has become blurred. Many build-to-rent flats are labelled affordable based on 80% of market rate, which in cities like London or Birmingham is still completely out of reach for most. It's a polished corporate version of housing, but underneath the surface, the safety net is disappearing. So the question isn't whether there will be homes to rent in 2025. There will. The real question is, will anyone on an average income be able to afford one? Number 9. New eviction fast-track powers for antisocial behaviour. In 2025, a single noise complaint could be enough to trigger eviction proceedings, even if you've done nothing wrong. As part of a tougher stance on antisocial behaviour, the UK government is introducing fast-track eviction powers that give landlords and housing associations the ability to remove tenants quickly if they're accused of causing persistent disturbances or behaving in a way that disrupts the community. Sounds fair, until you realise how vague and subjective the rules are. What counts as antisocial behaviour? Loud music, a heated argument, too many guests over? It's no longer just about crime, It's about perception. And once a neighbor reports you, the clock starts ticking. These rules are designed to protect communities from real issues like drug dealing or harassment. But in practice, they open the door for false reports, personal grudges, or misunderstandings to become grounds for eviction. Tenants in social housing are particularly at risk, as councils often act quickly to avoid legal liability or complaints. And once the process begins, you might not have time to build a proper defense, especially if you're not offered legal aid. Even worse, many tenants don't know they have the right to challenge accusations, request evidence, or demand a fair hearing. They just accept it and leave. So yes, antisocial behavior should be addressed. But in 2025, the line between bad neighbor and bad day is getting dangerously thin. The bottom line, you could be one complaint away from homelessness. Number 10. New homelessness definition for local authorities. In 2025, the UK is quietly changing the very definition of what it means to be homeless. And for thousands, that could mean losing access to the help they desperately need. Traditionally, if you didn't have a permanent home, were living in a hostel, or even staying on a friend's sofa, you could qualify for assistance from your local council. But new updates to the statutory definition of homelessness are raising the threshold, meaning fewer people will now qualify for urgent housing support. What's changing? Local authorities will now require clearer evidence that someone has no access to suitable accommodation, and may reject applications from those they consider to be in temporary but stable living situations, even if that situation is unsafe or precarious. That means if you're fleeing domestic violence but still have a roof over your head, you may be denied help. If you're sleeping in your car or rotating between friends' flats, you may not count as homeless anymore. And with councils under increasing pressure to cut costs, these stricter definitions are being used to reduce the number of accepted cases, pushing people into hidden homelessness, living in cars, overcrowded homes, or on the verge of the streets. This isn't about statistics. It's about real people being told, you don't qualify, people with nowhere to go. So when we say 2025 could leave you homeless, we don't just mean physically. We mean invisible, unacknowledged, and unsupported. And that's perhaps the most dangerous place to be. Before you go, ask yourself this. Could one of these laws affect you or someone you love without warning? If any of these hit close to home, tell us your story in the comments. And if you found this video eye-opening, check out our last one on 10 legal rent traps still allowed in the UK. It's a must-watch. We put a lot of work and research into these videos to keep you informed and protected. So please, support us with just one click and subscribe to the channel. It truly means everything. Did you know that 8 of the 10 most deprived areas in England are all in the north? Or that some UK cities have seen child poverty rise to over 40%, higher than many parts of Eastern Europe? Behind the glossy tourist photos and shiny regeneration projects lies a darker truth. Some of the UK's most iconic cities are quietly falling apart. We're talking about crumbling infrastructure, broken economies, soaring mental health crises, and communities being left behind, ignored by politicians, abandoned by investment, and hanging by a thread. Is your city one of them? Stick around, because in this video, we're uncovering 10 UK cities that are on the brink of collapse. And some of the names might seriously surprise you. This isn't just about statistics. It's about real lives, real consequences, and the urgent need for change before it's too late. Number 10. Newport. At number 10, we head to Newport, a Welsh city that once carried big dreams of becoming a regional powerhouse. But today, those dreams feel more like broken promises. After the 1990s, Newport was poised for a boom. A new wave of regeneration, business parks, and proximity to Cardiff gave hope that it would be the next big success story. But fast forward to now, and that potential is cracking under pressure. One of the biggest issues? Congestion and infrastructure chaos. The cancellation of the M4 Relief Road, a project meant to ease traffic bottlenecks, left the city gridlocked, literally and figuratively. Businesses that were once excited to move in are now quietly pulling out, citing poor transport and under-delivered government plans. Then there's the housing crisis. Property prices are climbing, but wages aren't. Locals are being priced out, while big developers flood in with luxury apartments few can afford. According to the Office for National Statistics, inward investment has actually dropped since 2019, despite all the grand redevelopment talk. And while the city has tried to rebrand as a tech hub, the jobs haven't followed the hype. For many families, things are tougher than ever. Public services are stretched thin, and food bank usage is rising sharply. Newport isn't beyond saving, but it's at a tipping point. A city stuck between past potential and a future that feels increasingly out of reach. So what went wrong? And more importantly, can it be turned around? Stay tuned as we count down even more cities in crisis. And the one at number 1 might just shock you. Number 9. Derby. Derby is home to Rolls-Royce, Bombardier and Toyota, some of the biggest names in British engineering. On paper, it should be thriving. But look a little closer and you'll see a city split in two. While the high-tech industries and aerospace giants dominate the outskirts, the heart of Derby is telling a very different story. Deprivation, inequality and social neglect are rising fast, especially in neighbourhoods like Normanton and Sinfin, where poverty and unemployment continue to climb. The city has one of the largest economic divides in the Midlands. Many residents live just minutes away from billion-pound industrial parks, but have little access to the opportunities they promise. And despite the headlines about innovation, Derby actually has one of the lowest rates of university attendance in the UK, especially among working-class youth. Public services are feeling the strain too. Schools in some boroughs struggle with overcrowding and underfunding. Derby's NHS services are stretched thin, and housing waiting lists have ballooned in the last 5 years. The sad irony: as high-tech jobs pour in, so does income inequality. A 2023 report ranked Derby among the top 5 UK cities for widening income gaps. It's not that Derby lacks resources, it's that those resources aren't reaching everyone. What do you think? Is Derby a hidden success story or a city left behind in plain sight? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're finding this eye-opening, don't forget to subscribe. We're only just getting started. Number 8. Middlesbrough. Not long ago, Middlesbrough was seen as the gritty engine of the northeast. Ironworks, shipbuilding, hard work, resilience. But today, that industrial strength has vanished, and what's left is a city slowly, quietly shrinking. Unlike other places trying to grow their way out of decline, Middlesbrough faces a different challenge. People are leaving. Since 2000, thousands have moved out, seeking better jobs, better housing, and better futures. Many of the houses they've left behind now sit boarded up, entire streets emptied out like forgotten pages in a photo album. And those who stay, they're facing some of the harshest conditions in the UK. Middlesbrough consistently ranks among the lowest in life expectancy, especially for men. Mental health issues are on the rise, and nearly half of all children live below the poverty line, a statistic more common in war-torn regions than Western Europe. The sense of isolation here is economic, it's geographic. Poor rail links, unreliable buses, and limited digital infrastructure make it hard for businesses to thrive or for residents to access opportunity. It's been called the most isolated urban area in Britain, and that title isn't just about maps, it's about being left out of the national conversation. There's pride in Middlesbrough, no doubt. But it's pride under pressure. The spirit's still there. You'll feel it in local cafes, community hubs, on match day at Riverside Stadium. But spirit alone won't fix hollowed-out streets, school closures, or mental health clinics stretched beyond capacity. Middlesbrough isn't just struggling, it's disappearing. One empty house, one family, one lost job at a time. Number 7. Wolverhampton. Wolverhampton doesn't make headlines often, and maybe that's part of the problem. Tucked between Birmingham's booming skyline and the rolling West Midlands countryside, this city feels like it's been quietly left behind, overshadowed and underestimated. Once a proud centre of manufacturing, steel, locks, engineering, Wolverhampton was a place where industry built communities. But when those industries collapsed, the recovery never really came. While Birmingham surged ahead with investment and redevelopment, Wolverhampton's transformation stalled. What was once promised as a regeneration zone now looks more like a city in waiting. You see it in the town centre, shops closing faster than they open, entire high streets now dominated by vape stores, betting shops, and shuttered windows. The nightlife has dulled. The buzz is fading. What makes it worse? Lack of investment. Government funding often bypasses Wolverhampton in favour of larger, more visible neighbours. Transport links are decent, but not transformative. Jobs exist, but mostly in low-paying sectors, with little room for advancement. And then there's education and youth opportunity. Some of the city's schools rank among the most underperforming in the region. Youth services have been cut back. Knife crime is rising. Many young people feel they have to leave to succeed. But the people here, still proud, still resilient. Wolverhampton isn't giving up, but it shouldn't have to fight this hard just to stay afloat. It's not the loudest crisis, not the most visible, but sometimes it's the quiet neglect that does the most damage. Number 6. Liverpool. Liverpool is a city that knows how to reinvent itself. From the docks that powered an empire, to the Beatles, to modern-day regeneration along the Mersey, this city has always found a way to bounce back. But behind the glass buildings and culture awards, something is cracking beneath the surface. Yes, the waterfront looks shiny. Yes, tourism is booming. But if you move a few streets inland, the story changes fast. In some neighbourhoods, over 50% of children are living in poverty. Food banks are overflowing. Entire families are skipping meals just to keep the lights on. Liverpool has been through economic hardship before. But what makes this different is the sense of déjà vu. Billions have been poured into city centre developments, but many locals feel locked out of the progress. Gentrification is moving in faster than investment in schools or social housing. Then there's the political instability. In 2021, the city's mayor was arrested on suspicion of corruption, leading to central government oversight. Confidence in leadership took a massive hit, and development projects were frozen, delayed, or scrapped altogether. The city's once-celebrated regeneration is now tangled in red tape, legal drama, and broken trust. Meanwhile, inequality continues to grow. In Kensington and Toxteth, life expectancy is nearly 10 years lower than in wealthier districts just a short drive away. It's a city of two realities, one booming, one barely holding on. Liverpool isn't collapsing overnight, but if current trends continue, it's heading for yet another cycle of boom and bust, and this time the bounce back might not be so easy. Number 5. Sunderland. Sunderland was once a titan of the shipbuilding world, a place where industry thrived and the River Wear echoed with the sound of progress. Today, that industrial past has been replaced by bold promises of a digital future. But the gap between what's promised and what's real is growing wider by the day. The city has tried hard to reposition itself. Headlines speak of smart city innovations, 5G rollouts, and investment in tech hubs. But if you ask many residents, those headlines feel more like slogans than substance. Where are the jobs? Where's the change on the ground? Despite the branding, Sunderland still suffers from one of the highest unemployment rates in the northeast. A large number of young people leave the city for university and don't come back. In fact, Sunderland has one of the UK's lowest graduate retention rates. That brain drain is a silent crisis, one that's robbing the city of future talent. Meanwhile, austerity has hollowed out public services. Libraries closed, youth centres gone, mental health services overstretched. The city centre struggles with empty storefronts and rising antisocial behaviour. And while Nissan remains a major employer, the local economy is too dependent on a single industry, making it dangerously vulnerable to global shifts. Add to that the post-Brexit trade uncertainty, and Sunderland finds itself caught between the past and an uncertain future. The dream of becoming a digital powerhouse is still alive. But right now, it's just that, a dream. Until those promises translate into real opportunity for ordinary people, Sunderland will remain a city with potential, but little payoff. Number 4. Stoke-on-Trent. Once known worldwide as the beating heart of ceramics, Stoke-on-Trent, the potteries, was a symbol of British craftsmanship and industrial pride. But the kilns have cooled, the factories have fallen silent, and what's left behind is a city struggling to redefine itself. As the pottery industry collapsed in the late 20th century, so did the foundation of Stoke's economy. Thousands of skilled jobs vanished. Entire generations lost not just their livelihoods, but their identity. And while some manufacturers still remain, they're a fraction of what they once were. The decline didn't stop at industry. Stoke now faces some of the highest rates of preventable illness in England. According to NHS data, residents here are far more likely to suffer from long-term health conditions linked to poverty, poor housing, and limited access to care. Education hasn't filled the gap. Many schools underperform compared to national averages, and Stoke has one of the lowest university attendance rates in the country. For young people, the path forward often feels more like a dead end. There's also the issue of social cohesion. As jobs disappeared and services were cut, crime and antisocial behavior began to rise. Many neighborhoods now suffer from high unemployment and poor mental health outcomes. And regeneration? It's patchy. Some pockets see investment, while others fall further behind. But perhaps the saddest part? Stoke doesn't get talked about. It's not in the media spotlight. It's not a political battleground. It's just forgotten. The spirit of the Potteries is still there, buried beneath decades of neglect. But unless serious, targeted investment is made, Stoke risks slipping further into decline, a proud city losing its voice in the national conversation. Number 3. Hull. Hull is no stranger to hardship. Positioned on the edge of the Humber estuary, this city once thrived as a maritime hub, shipping, fishing, and trading across the globe. But over time, tides changed, the fishing industry collapsed, the docks emptied, and Hull was left facing a slow-burning economic crisis that still grips the city today. In recent years, there have been efforts to revive Hull's image. In 2017, it was crowned the UK's City of Culture, a moment that brought investment, tourism, and a flicker of optimism. But for many locals, that optimism was short-lived. Once the spotlight faded, so did much of the momentum. The reality on the ground remains tough. Hull is consistently ranked among the lowest UK cities for economic growth. Unemployment is high, especially among young people. Many neighbourhoods experience deep-rooted poverty, digital exclusion, and poor access to quality education. Transport links only make things worse. Despite being a port city, Hull is one of the most poorly connected cities in the UK by rail. It's isolated, not just physically, but economically. Businesses are reluctant to set up shop. Opportunities are scarce. Housing is another issue. Much of Hull's stock is old, energy inefficient, and in disrepair. Combine that with rising energy costs, and you have thousands of families living in fuel poverty, having to choose between heating and eating. Hull has heart. Its people are proud, warm, and community-driven. But pride alone can't pay the bills. Without serious long-term investment in infrastructure, education, and industry, Hull risks becoming a permanent symbol of post-industrial decline. A place that once mattered, now quietly left behind. Number 2. Bradford. Bradford is one of the youngest, most diverse cities in the UK. Over 30% of its population is under 20, and it's home to a rich mix of cultures, traditions, and stories. On paper, that sounds like a recipe for innovation, energy, and growth. But the truth is more complex and more troubling. Despite its youthful vibrancy, Bradford ranks among the most deprived cities in England. 1 in 3 children lives in poverty. Schools are under pressure, and the job market isn't keeping pace with the needs of its fast-growing population. Bradford has long been promised regeneration, new business districts, improved transport, better housing. But delays, underfunding, and political hesitation have left much of the city stuck in limbo. The city centre is dotted with empty retail units, stalled construction, and crumbling civic spaces. This is a place where potential is everywhere. Yet opportunity feels painfully out of reach. A significant number of residents lack access to higher education, and those who do succeed often leave the city behind in search of better prospects elsewhere. It isn't a lack of ambition, it's a lack of support. Communities here have been resilient for decades, but resilience has its limits when basic infrastructure is neglected and inequality is allowed to fester. Worse still, racial inequality remains a major challenge. Many young people from minority backgrounds face structural barriers to employment, housing, and even policing. Bradford's diversity should be its greatest asset. But it's too often treated as a challenge rather than a strength. Unless major investment and targeted policy changes arrive soon, Bradford may find itself stuck, young and full of promise, yet unable to move forward. Number 1. Blackpool. Welcome to Blackpool, once the UK's favourite seaside escape. Towering roller coasters, donkey rides on the beach, candy floss arcades. This was the British dream holiday for generations. But behind the lights of the pleasure beach and the glow of the Blackpool Tower, a very different reality has taken hold. Today, Blackpool has the unfortunate title of being the most deprived town in England. Year after year, it tops the index of multiple deprivation, a measure that looks at income, health, education, housing, and crime. And the statistics are sobering. Life expectancy here is among the lowest in the country. Suicide rates are shockingly high. Many neighbourhoods are plagued by chronic unemployment, addiction, and crumbling social housing. In some areas, nearly half of the working-age population is on some form of government support. How did it get this bad? When package holidays abroad became affordable, Blackpool's tourism economy collapsed almost overnight. Hotels were abandoned or turned into low-cost, overcrowded housing for vulnerable people, many placed here from other regions without adequate support systems. Services struggled to keep up, and the cycle of poverty dug in deeper. Today, schools and hospitals are stretched thin. The town centre is filled with boarded-up shops and payday lenders. Meanwhile, regeneration projects come and go, often announced with fanfare, only to be scaled back or cancelled altogether. But perhaps the hardest part is the stigma. People from Blackpool know the jokes. They've heard the stereotypes. But this town is more than headlines and hardship. It's communities trying to survive a system that seems to have forgotten them. Blackpool isn't just on the brink, it's already fallen. And unless bold, sustained intervention happens now, the future could be even darker than the past. These cities aren't just names on a list. They're home to real people, real struggles, and real stories that deserve to be heard. Which city shocked you the most? Or did we miss one? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. If this video opened your eyes, check out our last deep dive on how Britain's housing crisis is reshaping entire communities. And hey, it's just one click to subscribe, but it means the world to us. We pour hours into these videos to bring you stories that matter. Thanks for your support. Did you know that over 5 million British citizens now live outside the UK, and that number is still climbing fast? That's almost 1 in every 10 Brits choosing to start over somewhere new. But why are they leaving? Is it just the gloomy weather, or is there something deeper going on? From skyrocketing living costs to the aftermath of Brexit, from dreams of sun-soaked beaches to the search for peace and purpose, more and more people are saying, enough is enough. Some are escaping stress, others are chasing a better life, and a few just want to feel free again. In this video, we're diving into the 10 most surprising reasons why British citizens are packing their bags for good. And trust us, reason number 7 will leave you stunned. So stay tuned. This isn't just about travel, it's about the truth behind a growing modern exodus. Number 1. High cost of living in the UK. Let's face it, living in the UK isn't cheap. For many Brits, just getting by has become a daily battle. Rents are skyrocketing, energy bills have doubled in some areas, and grocery prices are climbing like never before. In fact, the UK's inflation hit a 40-year high recently, making basic necessities feel like luxury items. Take London, for example. It's one of the most expensive cities in the world, with average rents easily crossing £2,000 a month for a small flat. And it's not just the capital. Smaller cities and even countryside areas have seen huge jumps in property prices. For many young families and even middle-income earners, the dream of owning a home feels completely out of reach. But here's where it gets interesting. In countries like Portugal, Poland, or even parts of Asia, the same amount of money can stretch much further. Imagine living in a charming coastal town, eating out for a fraction of UK prices, and actually saving money at the end of the month. Sounds like a dream. For many Brits, it's becoming reality. Retirees are also joining the trend, opting to spend their pensions somewhere it actually buys a good life. And for remote workers, the logic is simple. Why live in a shoebox flat in Manchester when you can have a villa in Spain for less? At its core, this isn't just about saving money, it's about living better. When the cost of living becomes unbearable, people start asking, what am I really getting for the price I pay? And for many, the answer is pushing them to look beyond the UK's borders. Number 2. Work-life balance and stress. If you ask the average Brit how their week's going, chances are you'll hear, busy, tired, burnt out. And they're not exaggerating. The UK has one of the worst work-life balance scores in Western Europe, according to studies by the OECD. Long hours, unrealistic expectations, and minimal downtime have left many people feeling like they're just surviving, not really living. A 2023 report revealed that nearly 1 in 3 UK workers say their job negatively impacts their mental health. Commutes are long, lunch breaks are rare, and the always-on culture, thanks to email and instant messaging, makes it hard to switch off. The result? Chronic stress, fatigue, and a growing desire to escape the rat race. That's why so many Brits are heading to countries like Spain, Italy, or New Zealand, where life moves at a more human pace. In these places, people take real lunch breaks, prioritize family time, and treat weekends as sacred. Imagine finishing work by 5 p.m., sitting in the sunshine with a coffee, and actually enjoying your evening, without guilt or exhaustion. It's not just a fantasy, it's a reality for thousands who've already made the move. And here's the kicker. Studies show that better work-life balance actually leads to higher productivity. So it's not about being lazy, it's about being smarter with your time and energy. Many Brits are realizing that they don't have to trade their health for a paycheck. They want careers that fit into their lives, not the other way around. What about you? Do you feel burnt out or stuck in the grind? Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your experience. And if you're finding this video eye-opening, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the rest of the reasons Brits are moving abroad. Number 3. Better climate and lifestyle abroad. Close your eyes for a moment. Now imagine waking up to the sound of waves, stepping out onto a sun-drenched balcony, and sipping your morning coffee in nothing but shorts and sandals. Even in February. For thousands of Brits, that's not a holiday fantasy anymore. It's their everyday life. The UK, with its grey skies, chilly winds, and unpredictable rain, has its charm. But let's be honest, when the weather feels miserable 9 months of the year, it starts to wear you down. The daily gloom seeps into your mood, your energy, your outlook. It's no wonder seasonal affective disorder is a real and growing concern across the country. Now contrast that with the golden sunsets of Greece, the warm winters of the Canary Islands, or the never-ending summers of southern Spain. It's not just the temperature that changes, it's the way people live. Slower afternoons, outdoor dinners, more time spent with family and friends. Life unfolds outside, not behind double-glazed windows. And it's not just retirees chasing the sun. Young professionals, digital nomads, and families with children are all finding that a sunnier, more active lifestyle does wonders for both mental and physical health. It's not about escaping reality. It's about redefining it. Because once you've lived a life where sunshine is the norm and stress isn't baked into your schedule, the grey drizzle of the UK doesn't just feel cold, it feels heavy. And that's when many Brits decide, it's time to live differently. Number 4. Desire for adventure and cultural exploration. Not everyone leaves the UK because of problems. Some leave simply because they're curious. There's something deeply human about the urge to explore, to step out of your comfort zone and ask, what else is out there? For many Brits, the daily routine, same streets, same shops, same small talk, starts to feel like a loop that never ends. Life becomes predictable, and that predictability, while safe, can also feel like a cage. So they leave, not because they're unhappy, but because they want more. More color, more noise, more flavor. They want to hear new languages, taste unfamiliar foods, get lost in streets where nothing feels familiar, and everything feels alive. Living abroad offers the kind of growth that no book or documentary can ever fully give. Whether it's teaching English in Japan, working remotely from a Balinese co-working space, or learning to tango in Argentina, the world becomes a classroom. Every misstep becomes a story. Every cultural misunderstanding becomes a lesson. And for many, that's where they find themselves, not at home, but away from it. They don't just want a change of scenery, they want a change of rhythm, a shift in mindset. A life that challenges them, shapes them, surprises them. Adventure isn't always skydiving or mountain climbing. Sometimes it's just having the courage to pack a suitcase and land somewhere where you don't know the rules. And that's exactly what a growing number of British citizens are doing. Not escaping anything, just chasing something different. Number 5. Retirement benefits and healthcare access. After a lifetime of hard work, most people look forward to retirement as a time of peace, comfort, and well-earned rest. But for many Brits, retiring in the UK no longer guarantees that. With rising living costs and mounting pressure on the NHS, more retirees are looking elsewhere and finding that other countries are offering exactly what they've been missing. In places like Portugal, Thailand, and even parts of Eastern Europe, retirement can be more than affordable. It can be luxurious. Pensions stretch further. Everyday expenses, groceries, transport, utilities, cost significantly less. And when it comes to healthcare, many of these destinations offer high-quality private care at a fraction of UK prices. For example, Portugal not only has one of the best public healthcare systems in Europe, but it also provides tax incentives specifically designed to attract foreign retirees. Countries like Spain offer subsidized healthcare access to expat residents. And in Thailand, a full private medical checkup might cost less than a single NHS dental visit back home. But beyond the numbers, there's the quality of life to consider. Warm weather, outdoor living, low crime rates, and a slower pace, all of which contribute to better mental and physical well-being in old age. For many retirees, the choice isn't just about escaping the UK, it's about investing in their health, happiness, and dignity for the years ahead. And that's not a luxury. That's a right. Number 6. Political frustration and Brexit fallout. For some, leaving the UK isn't just about money, weather, or wanderlust. It's about how they feel about their country. Over the past decade, the political landscape in Britain has shifted dramatically. From heated debates over Brexit to growing divides on social policies and economic direction, many citizens have started to feel disconnected from the place they once called home without question. Brexit, in particular, was a turning point. While it was celebrated by some, for others it felt like a door closing. Overnight, the right to live, work and move freely within 27 EU countries vanished. For younger generations especially, it was a loss of opportunity, and for older ones, a reminder of how fast things can change. Beyond policy, there's the mood. A rise in political polarization, debates over immigration, public service cuts, and years of economic uncertainty have left many feeling unheard or disillusioned. It's not about one party or one vote. It's about a growing sense that the UK no longer reflects the values or vision they believe in. So some decide to vote with their feet. Moving abroad becomes a quiet protest, a personal reboot, a way to choose a life that aligns more with their hopes than their frustrations. Whether it's the openness of the Netherlands, the progressive policies of Scandinavia, or the inclusive vibes of Portugal, many Brits are choosing countries where they feel more in control of their future, politically, economically, and emotionally. Sometimes leaving home isn't running away. It's finding a place that feels like home again. Number 7. Family ties and international relationships. Sometimes the reason someone leaves the UK isn't about politics, money, or weather. It's love. It's family. It's connection. In today's global world, relationships don't always start or end within one country. With more Brits studying abroad, working remotely, or traveling for leisure, it's no surprise that international relationships are becoming more common. And when love crosses borders, life often follows. Many British citizens are moving abroad to be with partners they met while traveling or working overseas. Others are raising families with dual heritage, choosing to live in the country that offers the best lifestyle, or simply the one where extended family lives. For these individuals, relocating isn't a bold escape or a political statement. It's a natural step toward togetherness. There's also the pull of aging parents or growing grandchildren. Some Brits move to countries like Australia, Canada, or New Zealand to reunite with children who emigrated years earlier. For them, it's not about starting a new life. It's about staying close to the people who matter most. And then there's a softer, unspoken reason: belonging. In multicultural marriages or diverse families, raising children in a bilingual environment, immersed in multiple cultures, feels less like a challenge and more like a gift. These moves aren't always easy. They involve paperwork, distance, and adjustment. But for many, the trade-off is worth it. Because in the end, no country, no job, no lifestyle is more important than being close to the people you love. And sometimes that means packing up your British passport and going wherever home truly is. Number 8. Remote work and global career opportunities. 10 years ago, the idea of working from a beach in Bali or a cafe in Lisbon might have sounded like a fantasy. Today, it's a growing reality, especially for Brits. The rise of remote work has completely changed how people think about careers. When the pandemic pushed millions of workers out of offices and into home setups, it also opened a door. What if home could be anywhere? For British professionals, especially in tech, design, marketing, and consulting, this shift has been a game changer. With just a laptop and a solid internet connection, many are now earning UK-level salaries while living in countries where their expenses are dramatically lower. Imagine earning £3,000 a month while living in Vietnam, where rent, food, and transport might cost you only £600. That's not just cost-cutting, it's wealth building. It allows for better savings, more travel, and a higher quality of life. Plus, the global job market is opening up. Remote-first companies don't care where you live as long as you deliver results. This means Brits aren't limited to UK-based employers. They can apply to firms in the US, Germany, Singapore, and beyond. Digital nomad visas, now offered by countries like Estonia, Croatia, and Mexico, make this lifestyle even more accessible. These special permits allow remote workers to stay legally and securely while contributing to local economies. Many Brits, traditional 9-to-5 in a grey office block is becoming less appealing by the day. In its place, freedom, flexibility, and global opportunity. Why stay put when the world is open for business, and you can take your career with you? Number 9. Quality of education for children. For parents, nothing matters more than giving their children the best possible start in life. And increasingly, British families are looking beyond the UK to do just that. While the UK has many excellent schools, concerns over overcrowded classrooms, standardized testing pressure, and cuts to education funding have left some families frustrated. They worry that creativity is being stifled, individual needs overlooked, and children are being pushed into a one-size-fits-all system. That's why more British families are seeking out countries with alternative educational philosophies, smaller class sizes, and a stronger emphasis on personal development. Places like the Netherlands, Finland, and Germany offer school systems where well-being is prioritized. Children are given more autonomy, and learning isn't just about exams. It's about understanding and curiosity. International schools are also a major draw. From Spain to Singapore, many cities offer English language education that blends British or American curricula with the International Baccalaureate (IB) program. These schools don't just prepare kids academically, they raise global citizens, fluent in multiple languages and comfortable with diverse cultures. Some parents are also drawn to the outdoor-focused education models in places like Denmark or New Zealand, where learning happens not only in classrooms, but in forests, farms, and real-life environments. For children growing up in these systems, education feels less like a chore and more like a journey. And when families see their children thriving, more engaged, and genuinely enjoying school, the choice to leave the UK suddenly feels less risky and more rewarding. Because at the end of the day, parents aren't just moving for themselves, they're moving for the future they want their children to grow up in. Number 10. Escape from urban overcrowding and crime. For many British citizens, life in the city has started to feel overwhelming. The constant noise, packed public transport, traffic jams, and the ever-rising cost of simply existing in urban areas, it's all starting to wear people down. And it's not just about discomfort, it's about safety. Major UK cities have seen rising concerns over crime, particularly in densely populated urban centres. Knife crime, antisocial behaviour, and petty thefts have become everyday worries for many families. Even in previously safe neighbourhoods, there's a growing sense that things aren't quite as secure as they used to be. For some, the tipping point comes when walking home at night starts to feel unsafe, or when they realize their children can't freely play outside. That's when the dream of a quieter, safer life somewhere else becomes more than just wishful thinking. Countries like Canada, Switzerland, and Japan consistently rank high for both public safety and quality of life. Smaller towns in places like Portugal or Austria offer low crime rates, tight-knit communities, and a calmer rhythm of life, without sacrificing access to modern amenities. People are trading concrete for countryside, congestion for fresh air. They're not looking to disappear off the map, just to find a place where life feels less pressured and more human. And it's not just retirees making this shift. Young families, professionals, and even single individuals are deciding that peace of mind is worth far more than proximity to a big-name high street. Because when the pace of life feels like a race you never signed up for, sometimes the best move is to slow it all down, somewhere new. The reasons Brits are moving abroad aren't just statistics. They're stories of hope, struggle, and fresh starts. Which reason spoke to you the most? Share your thoughts. We read every comment. And don't miss our last video on the 10 cheap countries for Britons to retire in 2025. It might just inspire your next move. If you believe in thoughtful content like this, please support us. It's just one click to subscribe, but it means the world to our team.